I know what you like to see. You like to see action. You like to see trees come crashing down. You like exciting stuff from way up in the canopy and loud noises. Well, I show a bit of that, but if you follow my channel, you know that I'm really more about trying to teach you about trees and different situations. So, we have a big problem. We have a serious drought in California and trees are dying everywhere. Monterey pines, Pinus radiata, is a tree that was planted extensively back in the 60s, and they are just being ravaged by insects and the pitch canker disease. There's multiple insects that are attacking them, and I believe that in some near future this tree is almost going to be extinct in our area, but there are still thousands of them. All of these pines here, all 7 of them, are dead. And for the last couple of weeks, we've just been doing dead pine after dead pine after dead pine. I think I've cut down 10 dead pines in the last 2 weeks. Frankly, I'm getting quite tired of pines. They're dirty trees. They're dangerous trees. They get rotten really bad. I wanted to show you this fungus, which is a good indicator. If you ever see this white fungus growing on a pine tree, you know it's brittle. You know it's not safe to climb. But a lot of guys do it anyway, and we find all kinds of critters in there. As these trees were coming down, we were finding everything from boars to termites, this little termite colony right here. I think that's kind of cool, but it also lets you know just how weak the wood is. The client wanted the chips, so we were chipping all the branches and distributing it over the landscape, which ultimately is going to turn into good soil. Hopefully it'll help in retaining some of the moisture. So I did a lot of the work with the bucket truck, and we had to do some lowering. Some of the branches were over some of the trees that they wanted to save. So we're doing the best job we possibly can at protecting what's left in this landscape. And as you can see, there was a lot of pines. We did have a pretty good drop zone, but there was some engineering involved because we wanted to utilize some of these trees to soften the blow of some of the others. In some cases, we were dropping trees into other trees. And that would prevent the foliage, the undergrowth, the oaks that were coming back, the other trees from getting smashed. So here's a good view from up in the bucket, and what I did was I gave this client 2 days. We're just charging based on time. I said we'll do the best we can in 2 days, and we did pretty good. Oh, this is something really very, very dangerous. When you've got all of these pine cones and branches that cross each other, you have to very carefully recognize if anything is holding itself up. I wanted to make a big cut down there, but the pine cones would have really messed me up. Those are the saws that I keep in my truck. There's a little wide angle view of the area. You see I'm taking off a lot of the low branches. So now we got to a point where we're going to do some felling cuts. Got 2 of the stumps down. Took all the brush, that wasn't too exciting, so I didn't even bother with the camera on those. This one, I rarely have anybody to run the camera for me. I'm mostly concentrating on getting the job done, but I keep my cell phone, my iPhone, with me all the time. I have a little side pouch, and because of that, I'm able to stop and get some good shots. So in this case, I just set it down on the ground. Don't always get a good shot. A lot of times I'll put it on the ground and put all this effort into making this big felling cut and go down and realize that the camera moved. I missed it all. So what we've got in this one is this tree is leaning backwards. And so I rigged it with a rope. I've got Jorge down there, and he's pulling it so we can get it to go in the right direction. So he actually had to pull it up and over. Interesting that I was able to hit the stump of that other tree, and it cracked it real good. Those are always fun cuts.
Hit the bag.
Hot, dirty, messy work. And like I said, termites, termites, termites. Everywhere you look, these trees are just riddled with bugs. And a lot of the borers go into the system of the tree, which introduces a fungus, which causes interior cracking that goes through. So because the trees are so dead, when you're felling these trees, you don't have the same kind of flexibility in the wood. When you're cutting down a live tree and you do your face cut, the notch, and then you come in from the back side a little bit above, you leave what we call a hinge. And because the wood is flexible, that hinge holds the tree up really well until it bends over. In this particular case, this is yet another tree that was leaning back considerably. It was actually leaning towards the swimming pool and their fence and the back area. So I rigged the rope way up high, and we tied it to a tree on the other side of this big drop zone. And I'll just let you watch this. Felling cuts are always fun, but they do require a lot of concentration. If you watched one of the last videos that I did, you can see what happens when you undercut it too far. When you make the face cut, what a lot of people call the wedge cut or the pie cut, you want these 2 points, the bottom and the top, or in some cases, if you're trying to save the lumber, the straight cut and then come up from the bottom, and that's a different type of cut. They call that a Humboldt cut. But either way, what you're doing is you're creating a area for the tree to hinge over. And then you come in just a hair above. I usually go about 2 inches above that point. And what you end up with is I'm going to go down there and give it a little bit of a tug and see what's going on. I forgot about this. I'm going to stop it here and edit out this little bit. All right, now when you're making a cut like this and they're pulling on it, you got to really be careful. You got to slow down, because the last thing you want to do is cut right through the little bit of holding wood. And remember what I said about this wood being very, very dry, very brittle, and not having a lot of flexibility. So that hinge, whilst it doesn't move and flex like it would if it was a green tree, is still very important, because that keeps it from going out of control. But without the rope to pull that down, that wouldn't have, I couldn't have possibly pulled it over. Had I tried using wedges to push it over, that would have been a mistake. Here's a couple of my old saws, 200s and 201. And this is the work area. You can see all the eucalyptus grove over on the left-hand side. That's a wild species that is taken over. It's an incredible fire hazard too, because of all the bark that comes off of this. So, like I said, I didn't have a cameraman, so we'll call this the pocket cam. I shoved it in my pocket. Sorry about the blur there. It'll clear up in a second. Come on, clear. Oh, these automatic settings sometimes. Autofocus. I know I could have edited that out, but hey, I'm lazy this morning. All right, there we go. It's I put the camera straight up and down in my pocket to catch what I could while I was up there. This is completely afterthought. And what I want to tell you about is I'm probably 40 feet up in the air, and I have another, I don't know, 30 or 40 feet of top that I have to cut. So basically I'm cutting this tree in half. And because I'm in the bucket, I'm relatively close to the tree. So if I make a bad cut here and it hangs up and it spins back down on itself, this whole top could possibly go into the bucket, and I'm in the bucket. So my clarity of thinking and slowing down is very, very important. I do have a rope up higher. I've got the guys pulling on it. I'm making my back cut. Notice I've got the saw cutting on the top side. That's mostly for convenience. It cuts just as fast. It's a little bit more difficult, but I'm watching very, very closely. And at the last bit, once it gets going, I do not slow down. I cut it so that it goes all the way through and falls, because the last thing I want is for that thing to hang up in any way and swing back into where I'm working. And then finally we just had another butt cut. This is from the same tree. We were moving all the logs over. We had them in 8 and 10 foot logs, and we moved these all over by hand, which tells you how light the wood was because it was so dry. We were able to, flip-flop most of these, and one person moved all this wood over into one big pile. So this last felling cut, there it is. I feel like I hit something. Hey, thanks for watching, and please subscribe to my channel, leave me a comment, and hit that like button.